Tuesday edition of the Sports Cage for Saskatchewan Lotteries and all the good work that they do around our province. Thanks for tuning in today. 3 hours with you. It's going to be myself, Barney, Shynkaruk. We got the C's with me, and then Derek Bidwell will join us. He'll be co-hosting for the 3 hours. We're going to go through the Brier, what's going on there, Saskatchewan teams moving along. One's doing really well. One, going to be tough to get into the playoffs. Ken Reid from Sportsnet will join us. Maybe you've been to a speaking engagement in Saskatchewan and when Ken Reid has been at Oilman's, Bonspiel. There's some of those steak nights. Does great work. Ken Reid, always funny. Knows Derek Bidwell well. He'll join us at the bottom of hour one. Hour two, Arash Madani is going to want to get into some NFL news. One receiver, notable receiver in the NFL, being released today by his team. Talk on that. Clutch Performer time. SJHL Report for Southie Mainline Chrysler. Benny Walchuk will be by. There's a couple of games in the SJ tonight. We'll also talk about Melville as they keep their winning streak. Can they keep their winning streak alive tonight at home to the pesky Nipawin Hawks? Hour three, Glen Suitor. Glen Suitor is in Normandy, France. So that'll be a very interesting conversation. It's something he's wanted to do his whole life. Probably something a lot of you out there have wanted to do your whole life, especially if you're a history buff. Your World War II things. That'd be a place to go. So Glenn will be by in hour three. We'll also get to some CFL news. Like I said, Derek Bidwell is co-hosting today. Bidsy. Are you there? There he is.
I am.
The black, if you're watching the stream at sportscage.com or on X. A nice black and white. Is that a flannel?
I guess it would be a light flannel. It looks very it looks very Hudson Bay-ish.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Eddie Bauer?
I didn't pick it up there. It looks very, very Eddie Bauer-ish. Yes, it does.
Eddie Bauer was always like a fall winter clothing place. I don't really remember a lot of going into Eddie Bauer and being like, yeah, that screams summer. That screams the beach.
Yeah, and it's very plaid, and a lot of khaki would be at Eddie Bauer as well too. They got some good jackets though.
Yeah. Anyone in our demographic will remember that flannel that you're wearing, but the black and red, that thing in the 80s. If you had one of those, you hung out in the smoking section at your school. Yes, there used to be smoking sections at schools. You had that red and black flannel thing, and you possibly either had or you're working on a Camaro or Trans Am in somebody's garage.
Yeah. But then in the winter, it was in the fall. In the fall, it was underneath your jean vest with your Iron Maiden patch on the back, and then in the winter, of course, then it was underneath the jean jacket, the full jean jacket, and that was your winter coat. If you were in that group,
that was exactly how it went. Like there's no
bangers.
Yeah, you were a headbanger. You were floating in the headbanger realm for sure. And in the winter, you just said, no, I'm going flannel jean jacket. I don't care how cold it is. I am going to look tough and mean when I go to that party with my boys. Oh, that's good times. Takes us back. Hey, the NHL trade deadline is Friday. Eric Francis is in tomorrow. But Edmonton Oilers fans out there, 936-6262. Prairieland Rentals text line since 1986. Prairieland Rental, 600 Albert Street. Small jobs, big jobs. They have what you need. You get to deal with the owner. Prairieland Rentals and Sales. The Oilers have made a pair of trades with Boston and New Jersey. They've acquired forward Trent Frederick and Max Jones, along with the rights to forward Peter Hauser. I don't know two of those human beings. I know Trent Frederick a little bit, and I'm sure Oiler fans are, he's a gritty-ish player. And at this point, you got to say, yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
He'll play with this guy. I think he's injured though, and 50% of his salary is retained, so the Oilers are kind of off the hook there. Then Boston trades Mac Jones, an unsigned draft pick Hauser to the Oilers in exchange for Max Warner. I don't even know these guys, and I follow the NHL quite well. Oilers, what are they going to do here? They have no money to do anything. So I don't know what kind of cap space this frees up, but I worry about them a little bit.
Well, and if you watch a lot of the trade talk too, and I was catching some of it on a few of the sports channels this morning. Got up early today and flipped both of them on. And
I probably should have been as well, so then I would know the guys' names.
No, but they were just talking about the Oilers, and you talk about cap space and where they are and money and to spend. And there's a lot of people, a lot of sports pundits that still believe that Jordan Binnington or Gibson is going to end up in Edmonton. They're going to get one of those two goaltenders. That's what a lot of people are still throwing out there. So
I think St. Louis might make the playoffs.
Yeah, I know.
That's the thing. Like, does St. Louis do a total? Again, I don't know all their financials. Like, I don't work for the team. I don't know. But does St. Louis throw an absolute monkey wrench in things? And they load up. They pick up a couple guys. Do they take a stab at Luke Shen?
Yeah. Right. Like, yeah. Okay. So who's going for it? Who isn't? Who's going to be buyers? Who's going to be sellers? Obviously, these are all the things that get answered, a lot on trade deadline. A lot of teams' plans and what they plan on doing for the rest of the season are made a lot clearer on trade deadline day. But yes, Jordan Binnington, Gibson as well, too, with Anaheim. Both those goaltenders, I think they have modified no trade clauses, so you'd have to convince them to go. Maybe Edmonton's one of those places. Maybe it's not. And, they have a decent salary. Both those goaltenders do have a decent salary, too. So, yeah, I don't know.
Are they married?
It's a fit.
Because you got to convince them, but they also got to do some convincing as well if it's a long-term deal. And sometimes, okay, well, I'll go for as a rental. I'll go for a quick twirl up there. You stay here with the kids.
Because the kids are probably not going to be tough to sell the kids on, hey, Dad's thinking of instead of Anaheim, hey, just give it a sec, kids. Edmonton, the mall.
Here's a picture of the Drop of Doom and the roller coaster and the water park. Do they still have the Drop of Doom? Yeah,
I don't know. What about isn't there a pirate ship and some seals or something too?
There used to be submarines, submarines down there. I got sucked into going on that trip once, the submarine trip. They used to have a lot of things, and then they started phasing things out. And then every year you see on social media some nut job jumping from the top of the top level into the where the submarines used to be. There's always every year there's someone. It's like there's just some idiot. It's like and his buddy's filming him jumping into the But Calgary right now would hold the wild card spot, tied with Vancouver, and then St. Louis is 1 point back. I still like Utah there too, sitting with 63 points, 2 back. So it's gonna be a crazy dogfight. Again, Oiler fans, what do you think on this trade? Bringing in Trent Frederick for your team, some grit there. How about the Saskatchewan Roughriders today? They're just sprinkling, like you said, Bidsy, right? Just stay relevant every day, every other day with something. That's what they're doing.
Yeah, you got to release a little information. Just once a day, make sure no one forgets about you. Like you can say, just send out a press release like Gaynor is under the weather today. Just wanted to let you guys know.
Diagnosed with gout. The Riders yesterday signed defensive back Mark Webb, and then today they signed defensive back Leon Jones, Arkansas State product, signed with the Chicago Bears as an undrafted free agent following an invitation to rookie main camp after the 2024 draft. He was named a player to watch heading into camp by Pro Football Focus, but was among the Bears' final roster cuts. So spent 3 seasons collegiately suiting up for the Red Wolf in Arkansas State. So back-to-back days, a couple of defensive backs signed, bringing into camp. Nothing is guaranteed. We'll talk to Suits later. We'll get Suits' take on this, but I bet he's going to be like, hey, what kind of attitude are these guys coming up with? That's what it means. But then again, our coaching staff's pretty buttoned up, so I think they would probably have a good idea. Yesterday, Webb was 6'1", 207, and then today, Leon Jones, he's 6'1", 192. It's kind of the same size.
Big DBs.
Kind of the same size, yeah. And, they're doing something. They're letting us know every day. Little signing here, little signing there. It's like right in that downtime of CFL.
AJ Ouellette has released a new playlist or something like that, or just something to do with the team. I get it. You just don't want to be forgotten during this long Saskatchewan winter. I get it.
You know what I could go for? I could go for some Jamarcus Hardrick. When's he rolling into town? Can we get him on the program?
Yeah. He's refreshing.
Guy could talk to that guy for hours. He's got stories. Yeah. When he co-hosted the one day, went to high school or school with Soulja Boy. High school?
Oh, yeah.
But then Soulja Boy, he pieced out once he hit it kind of big.
Yeah, the song got dropped and then he stopped showing up.
Yeah,
if I remember correctly.
Well, you
so would Curtis,
Soulja? So. What was his real name? Soulja Boy. Then we even went through that with Jamarca. That was a small town. Great interview. Happy to have that guy back this year. I'm sure he's been training hard because when he was here last year, he was just like, I want to come back for the playoffs.
DeAndre Cortez Way.
Soulja Boy. Yeah, Curtis.
I relate with a lot of our listeners right now that are going, who or what is Soulja Boy? Like what? Who is that?
Soulja.
It's Soulja. That's why.
Soul. Soulja. Soulja Boy.
Oh, like kind of like not 50 Cent. It's 50 Cent.
Exactly. Now you're getting it.
Okay.
His big song was like, and it's I want to say it's around 10 years old. 15 years old? What was it? What was it called?
Crank that.
Crank that. Crank dat or that?
That with a TH.
Yeah.
Soulja
Boy.
Yeah, I normally do my that's with D.
Jamarcus Hardrick's boy. Soulja Boy. All right, curling fans, I know you're itching at what is going on at the Tim Hortons Briar. Tim Hortons is not the sponsor of the Briar anymore. It is Montana's. Good catch, Colson. Can we just call it Nokia Briar? What was it before that again?
The Labatt Briar.
Labatt. And then before that, it was
Briar.
Export. We can't do the smoking.
They had the big. Remember, Shink? They had the big mug. That was the trophy. It was a big mug. Big Labatt.
The tankard.
Beer mug. The tankard.
3:30. Look at the attendance. This morning, again, they only had announced attendance, 2,720 people. Right now, Saskatchewan is not on the ice. The McEwen foursome, 5-0 after a 7-5 win over the Territories. Yukon, 7-5 win. I don't know what the spread on that is, but some people probably won money on Cool Bet if you took Yukon to cover the spread. And then Ryland Kleider's team, they dropped their contest this morning to the Jacobs foursome. Benny Hebert from Regina, Saskatchewan, now lives in Calgary. That's his team. 6-3, the final in that one. Kleider curled 83% for his squad. So standings update in Pool B. McEwen is atop at 5-0, with Jacobs also undefeated at 4-0. They've played one less game, obviously. Saskatchewan's 2-2. So Saskatchewan, a lot of work to the Kleider foursome. A lot of work to do there. Schedule this evening, like we said, right now, neither Saskatchewan team is playing. This evening, though, McEwen's going to take on the Territories, and Kleider also going tonight against Ontario.
And
must win country for Kleider. That's 6:30.
Did you catch the cool story with the Kleider foursome yesterday, Shink?
No, enlighten us.
I will. So this is from Jorgen Hughes. He texted me this, long snapper for the Saskatchewan Roughriders, of course. He texted me this last night saying that we should mention this because he's there. He's married to Ryland Kleider's sister. So this is from Jorgen. He said, so Bids, this is a great one for you to mention on the cage. Josh Mattern, third for Team Kleider, had his dad, John Mattern, enter the game tonight, so this is last night, as their fifth. John has been the team manager for the past 10 to 12 years for the Kleider foursome, and the boys asked him to be the fifth for their team right before the Brier. Apparently, he teared up over it and was really emotional that the boys asked him to be the fifth for the Brier. So then yesterday, when they were ahead, they got a good lead, and they decided to bring him in.
No.
So Josh Mattern's father got to curl in the Brier with his son for Team Saskatchewan.
Isn't that a good story?
It's fantastic. Almost gives you makes you blink a little fast. Gives you, you're a fella, you think you and your dad, and you're like that. That kind of gives you a lump in the throat there.
My dad wasn't an athletic guy. He liked to coach and yell, but he couldn't skate worth you know what. And he thought he was a fastball guy. I guess he was a fastball. But then I'm looking at it right there. That's a really good story. Yeah, Kleider dumped the Territories 8-2, and John Mattern only curled 13%. So at least they can still heckle him. But he got in. That is really, really
So he curled with his son in the Brier, teared up. Oh, that's a great story. I was talking about it with my dad, Ray, earlier today, and he was explaining it to me and how they just decided they were up. They were ahead. He's the fifth. Fifth guy can be subbed in whenever, Ray says, and they got a good enough lead, and they brought him in, and they made it happen. Father and son for the Kleider foursome can say they curled for Saskatchewan in the Brier together.
Great story. Great story.
There he is.
Oh, there he is. Yeah, if you're watching the stream at sportscage.com or on Twitter, there he is.
Look at him. He's cleaning the bottom of the rock.
What's going through his mind right there? That is awesome.
Yes. Look at him go. He's got the guys right beside him, and here he goes, and he's off, and he's a little wobbly, but he's doing okay.
Oh, that's cool. Really good story.
Great story.
Really good story. Let's go to break here. First break. We still got Kenny Reid coming up from Sportsnet to join us. We'll talk about the hockey going on in the area as well this evening. It is a Sports Cage streaming on X at sportscage.com. And we are on the radio, as per usual, 620 CKRM. Shynkaruk, Derek Bidwell tonight, SJHL in Melville. Like I said, Benny Walchuk's going to join us in hour 2. Nipawin's in town. Melville on that heater. Can they continue it? We'll find out. Weyburn is in Notre Dame, 2 games in the SJWHL right here on 620 CKRM. Regina Pats in Prince Albert to take on the Raiders. Huge 2 points for the Raiders. They're 2 up on Brandon. Brandon is in Red Deer tonight to take on Dave Strucha's boys. Kelowna's at Medicine Hat. Kamloops at Seattle. Junior B action. The Prairie Junior Hockey League. We got game 2s tonight. Pilot Butte, Regina Capitals. Series tied 1-1, 7:45 at the Ritchie. Try the beef jerky. And then Fort Knox is up 2-0 on Assiniboia. That one goes in the Fort at 7:30. And I got one senior game. Coppell Valley Highway Hockey League, Game 3 of the league final. The Raymore Rockets, coming off that provincial loss to Lumsden, they host Milestone. Rockets are up 2-0 in that one. So there's a quick rundown of what's going on locally. You talked about your dad watching the Brier. Like, is he like glued in from 8:30 till all 3 draws all day? Yeah, it's like my mom.
Yeah. I invited them over for dinner on Sunday. They walked in, and I made sure that the Brier was on, so that otherwise I don't know if they would have came actually for dinner. Anyway, as soon as he walked in, he made a left. I was talking to him, and he just right in front of the TV, and that was it. And then the game was going into the 10th end, 9th or 10th end, and dinner was ready. And so I recorded the 9th and 10th end so we could have dinner on time. Otherwise, it would have sat there for another half an hour.
On VA, Ray said, put in that VHS, record the rest of this. I want to watch it later. What did you guys have? What did you guys have for supper?
We had a BASF tape that we had to put in there to record it really quick. It was fancy. Bidsy made it. So it was spaghetti and meat sauce and garlic toast.
Ah, right on. Since the cave closed, you're in charge of all Greek and Italian food. Western pizza would be perfect tonight. It's always a favorite. All the Greek favorites you like. If you haven't had their lasagna, it is a hit at the Shynkaruk household. Let's go out on the Western Pizza guest hotline. Joining us today, your voice of the Dartmouth Olin experts on Telecable 10, Ken Reid, also from Sportsnet. But most people remember him from Telecable 10 in Dartmouth. Always wearing the wool hat. I've interviewed you twice. Always with the wool hat, eh? Big wool hat guy.
My house is old, man. It's cold. That's what's going on here in Toronto. I just have a cold house. Bidwell, I got a question for you. After Ray comes over for dinner, where's the strangest place Andrea ever found one of Ray's spit cups? Like behind the Lazy Boy, in the fridge? Because he's watching the Brier. He's got to go through at least a 10.5.
Yeah, he's listening right now. So he always likes this. Ken has created a different character for my dad. And in Ken's mind, he thinks my dad is an ex-bull rider shank and that he chews tobacco all the time.
All the time. It's in my mind.
Kenny, you could sit down with Ray and Wayne Armstrong at a nice West Side establishment in Saskatoon. That would be it, wouldn't it be?
Yes, absolutely. If you ever seen the movie Urban Cowboy, remember John Travolta's uncle in that movie? That's how I envision Ray Bidwell as. Well, I don't know if you want to ride that thing. You know, that kind of thing. He's got his belt buckles. He's showing them off. He's got his heater in the whole time. You know. Yeah. He's the kind of guy that's never sat at a hockey game in rural Saskatchewan. He just leans up against the glass. That 7 is looking pretty good out there. Yeah. You know, that kind of guy.
Yeah. And then the Zamboni breaks down and he's the guy that goes over and helps. He knows how to fix it.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Now,
exactly.
Ray, we got that problem again with the manifold.
And Hope's got her mittens on around her hot chocolate up in the stands. Ray never talks to her at a hocky game. He's down with the boys.
Hope is pissed about something that the Blue Jays did. It's in February.
I can't blame Hope at all. Hope must have had a pretty pissed off winter.
So
wow,
we kind of teed up some of the local stuff going on here in Sasky. People know you're tied here. You love Sasky, even though you're a Pictou County, Maritimes guy. It's senior hockey. Like this weekend was crazy. Like there were some game 3s, the Round Lake Bears playing on the Ochapowace First Nations, some ex-NHLers on that squad. It's that time of the year here. And I remember when we interviewed you on the Nooner, you talked about Teapot Dana Johnson and so you get it. You get what we're going through in Sasky right now.
Totally get it. I heard you doing the highlights there. what was the name of the league? The Highway League, the something Highway League?
Propel Valley Highway Hockey League. So the Propel Valley and the Highway Hockey League merged a few years ago. So instead of just coming up with a shorter, easier name, they just said, no, use it all.
Just couldn't keep anybody happy if you did that. See, I love that. That's what hockey should be, and that's what hockey is at its essence. There's still over 100 senior hockey teams in Saskatchewan. That is just epic. I love that the guys come back and still play in it. And to me, that's what hockey is. And yeah, Teapot could fit in Sasky, no problem. And Sasky folks could fit in Nova Scotia, no problem. The only difference is we can see water and have hills, and you guys can do it up. But it's just, I find Canada anywhere outside of the Golden Horseshoe is the same. Like if you leave Toronto, we're all the same. Toronto's a little different. Houses are drafty, as you can see from my hat. But yeah, today I went to the local rink. And my kids' grade 6 team, it was their elementary school city finals. And it reminded me of old school hockey because all the students are there from the school. There's no overpaid skills coach. There's no systems. It's just hockey, pure hockey. And I think that's what you get in the small towns around Canada. And we forget it's called hockey. It's not called Toronto Maple Leafs. There's a lot more to hockey than the Toronto Maple Leafs. That's
a good point. What's one thing you could bring back? Like, I know you're kind of famous with the pucks in deep, which it's more of a possession game now. But if you could bring one thing back from growing up and watching the game, what would it be?
I have this theory that the best way you could change the game and make it into what it once was, and the game is most entertaining when there's more mistakes, and I think the game is extremely overcoached. If I could make a rule in the NHL, it would be this: only one coach and one trainer allowed on the bench, because it makes for more mistakes. Guys are responsible for their own line changes. They're going to be screwing up. They're not going to review anything. Next time you watch a game, look behind the players. It's a lineup of humans there, and everybody is overcoached. So if I could make a rule for the NHL, one coach, one trainer on the bench, and no IFB, which is your earpiece to the eye in the sky. If you want to communicate, you could come down between periods. So I think, and it would never happen, but I think Freddie Shearer was the first guy to have an assistant coach. So if we could just have one coach on the bench and one trainer, I think that'd be awesome, because it would make the players think more themselves and not just be so into systems. Get rid of the instigator rule as well.
Could see Connor McDavid opening the gate.
Exactly.
You need one guy to open the gate, and that's great. What's up on the book front with you? Like the last time, I loved Hometown Heroes. Right.
Thank you.
Shout out Tyson Watney. All of it in there. What's up on the book front for you?
Well, I got a book coming out in the fall with Simon & Schuster, and it's on scouts. And it's not how do I scout a guy? What do I look for? It is old school scout stories, like driving across the prairie. So I got good Regina boy Brad Davis in there, whose dad, Lorne Davis, was a legendary scout for the Oilers. I got a good Sasky guy named Kenny Fox, who once upon a time put a skinny kid who didn't even have a broken nose named Colby Armstrong on his sheet and drafted him to Red Deer and got Aaron Asham to Red Deer. So I got some good old school scout stories. So I went through the West, I went through Quebec, I went through the East. And I just, I wanted to know what it's like to, as Kenny Fox said, jump in a beat up old Ford Tempo and drive to rural Manitoba to scout Aaron Asham in AA. So that's what I got going.
Nice. Old school scouting. Kenny, I got to tell you this. You'll like this. I got a text from Kevin Killer Kaminsky.
Nice.
Of course. And he's listening. He's listening right now. And he said, you tell Kenny, Killer Hockey says no instigator rule as well.
That's right. You're damn right, Killer. Listen. I don't think Killer would have cared if there is an instigator rule, man. You tell Killer, I said no one takes the fort. Halifax Citadels for life. That's the first time I saw Kevin Kaminsky was on a program by Ken Dryden called The Game. It was amazing. They followed Kevin.
We have the fight.
Yeah.
We have it.
Yeah. They followed Kevin when he was playing for the Blades. It was amazing. They went to his hometown. I followed him ever since. He gets drafted by the North Stars, and he goes to the Nordiques. He ends up playing in the American League in Halifax. Then I see him in Portland, Maine. I met him in Portland, Maine. And then I find out that when he was in Halifax, you tell Killer this. that he was buddies with my buddy Paul Bromby, who used to be the doorman at JJ's and worked at the Palace. So it's a small world, and Kevin Kaminsky will always be a legend in Nova Scotia for what he did for the Citadels, man.
Yeah, well, you were in a pub or something like that. I remember, and you took a picture. You were pointing up at it, and in some pub you were at.
Yep.
There's
It was in Hollowell, Maine.
Jersey and pictures.
Yep. In Hollowell, Maine. I was at a buddy's place down there, and they had Killers Portland Pirates jersey on the wall. So, yeah, I know Kevin doesn't go to watering holes anymore, but it was a watering hole. But don't worry, Kevin, I wasn't watering.
That Ken Dryden, was it the game or home game?
Something like that, the game or home game. But yeah, it was a 10-part series, 1 hour docs. It was amazing.
Bidsy, you'll love this. The library at the Cosmo Civic Center in Saskatoon had them all. So when I would go and take them out, rent them, take them back. Now you can't find. I looked up the other day. I'm like, why can't I watch this?
Kevin's episode is on YouTube.
Is it?
Yes, it's amazing.
Oh.
It's incredible.
And the two scouts are in the stands at the Memorial Cup, and he's here they go. It's Ty Domi. Oh,
yeah. It's just awesome.
Yeah, those are two old school scouts. Those are guys you probably talked to. They're guys like that. They're in the stands and they're like, okay, Kevin Kaminsky, Ty Domi for the Petes. Watch when these two get out. Oh, yeah, here they're out together. Oh, yeah, here they go.
Yeah, well, that was one of the stories Brad Davis told me. It was the lockout year, and they had, there was tons of time. What it was the lockout year, so the budgets were such that they couldn't go to Europe as much. So he ends up scouting a lot of. He even scouted Tier 2 in Toronto, and he falls in love with Andrew Cogliano. And there's this game in the playoffs, and Cogliano's the 17-year-old stud on his team. There's a 17-year-old stud on the other team, and he said they went at it again, Le Cavalier style, and they just took the old pen out and was like, made his notes, and they drafted Cogliano. So yeah, but that episode with Kevin playing for the Saskatoon Blades.
Yeah, I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna watch that this evening. There it is. We got trade deadline coming up here this week. Do you think that is it going to be the trickling like we see the one today from the Oilers? We're gonna have it's not like the old days, boys, wasn't it? Where there was no social media and all that. Like you were glued, and then you picked up that rag the next morning to look through what you missed. Now it's kind of sprinkling, and then it comes Friday. I don't know, Kenny. What do you think? Are we going to see anything big happen? Surprising?
First off, social media sucks. It's ruined everything. Imagine Bidwell, me and you at Cowboys with social media back in the day.
And Eric Francis.
Exactly.
Yeah,
social media ruined the NHL.
Sure.
I've been told that social media ruined the NHL road trip, among other things. So these poor guys now can't even go have a Pepsi without some dork recording them on their phone. Yeah, I think it's going to be the usual. Look at that trade today. The Oilers did what they had to do, went out, got Trent Frederick. They need some energy for their bottom six, so good move. But yeah, it'll be the old sit and wait, and then at 3:00 a bunch of stuff will come down, and instant analysis and all that stuff if you're into that. But it's going to be tough to top some of the trades we've seen already, like Florida getting Seth Jones. That's pretty good, unless some Sasky boys get dealt out of St. Louis. I don't know how exciting a day it's going to be.
Or can a Sasky boy get dealt to St. Louis? How come no one's talking about Luke going to play with Braden?
Yeah, that'd be deadly. I mean, St. Louis is what, a point or two out, so they're not done. And there's a market for Bennington now, so that's interesting. So, there'll be big trades. There always are. I'm not the guy to ask what they will be. I just like reacting to them like everybody else.
Yeah, you do. You guys do a great job. You and Ivanka Osman. Is she is she a savvy? Like she seems like she's awesome to work with.
She is. She's
just like having a pint with a buddy.
She is. I tick her off sometimes. I annoy the hell out of her. But Bidwell, you know about that. You've worked with me. She didn't do what our weatherman did. Busy. Tell the story about how we annoyed Dar McBool so bad that he moved his desk. And then 10 days later, he's like, I miss you guys. I remember the good old days. We're like, Dar, that was friggin' 10 days ago, bud. So
he's like, Biddy, I moved my desk back now. You don't annoy me no more. Where's that Kenny Reid? Yeah. Yeah.
Ivanka's great. We have a lot of fun. I don't watch games for numbers. I watch games for stories. So when the game's over, we just talk about it. And the only difference is at home, people might have a beer, and we don't have any beer on set yet. The show could evolve, though. You never know.
That's
it's
where
a nice
social media
lounge,
comes in.
As you refer to it.
Yes.
Luke Gazdick is a beauty there as well with you guys.
Awesome.
As well. I had a chance to. He was at the Riders game here, and I had a chance to play hockey with him too. And he is a true gentleman. That fella, real nice guy.
Perfect words for Luke. Engaging, curious about everyone and everything. Always wants to get better. Always wants to know what you're doing. Always wants to know what interests you. He's a very unselfish person. You can see why he played the role as a player, because, I found through all my years, just like Killer, the toughest guys are the nicest guys, man. And Brad May explained it to me once. I'm like, how come all you guys that do the job are the nicest guys? He goes, you got to be nice to stick up for 19 of your buddies. So Gaz fits right in there. Stu
Grimson, such a nice guy. Dave Manson, nice guy.
Oh.
Do you watch any curling? You got to be a little bit of a no?
I don't. When I went to CTV Edmonton, I took the deep dive into curling because we covered curling hard there, and they bring back the highlights. Bidwell, you'll like this too, boys. And it's the old they show the scoreboard, and it's that old Ray Bidwell curling scoreboard. You know, you got a 7th in the 10th there, and then I'm looking at it going, what the hell is this? So I figured out how to do the curling scoreboard, the old Ray Bidwell one. And then I was good to go. But yeah, I mean, if I was watching the Briar with Ray, I'd sit down. I'd have a couple Pilsners. He'd go through a 10.5 of Skull Cherry. We'd be all good. There'd be spittoons all over the house. At one point, I'd go to drink the beer, and it'd be Ray's spitter. I'd watch curling then.
There's so many people listening that have been on hockey buses that know exactly that oopsie.
Oh yeah.
Is that not the worst?
I won't get into it because there's one that I know a guy played with. It was that you usually think, and also the guy was picking his scabs.
Oh, that's bad. Listen, I always say you can eat your own scabs, but you can't eat someone else's.
That's good times.
That's what you do always. That's a T-shirt right there. Yep.
Yeah. So I just started it today.
What is it? It's about 4:45. What time? So what's your night consist of? When do you go in? What do you do?
Oh, I'll leave. I'll pop in the shower here in an hour, 15 minutes. I might take a nap here after this and hit the road at 6:30, get in at 7. Quick meeting. Go sit in the makeup chair, watch some hockey games, and I think pop on TV around 9:30 out of the games tonight, and away we go.
Right on. There you go. Nice. Anyone watching him tonight? Kenny Reid on Sportsnet Central.
I gotta fix the hair, right? That's another reason why I wear the hat when I'm on with you guys. Look at that.
Yeah. Maybe throw in a Kevin Kaminsky.
I'll throw in a killer reference. Sure.
Implement it.
Too bad nobody plays like that anymore. Yeah, man, that'd be fun. Just killer, just
borderline Tom Wilson, maybe.
Yeah. Tom and Brady had a nice little go last night. That was a good tilt. That was nice to see two guys that you want to go. Yeah. Yeah. We need more people on TV talking about hockey fights. Putting that out there. It's so funny, when it happens, everyone's, I don't like fighting. And then when it happens, oh my God, did you see it? Like everybody loved it, the Four Nations. And those who didn't, just didn't hear anything then.
Yeah, I was told the story on the show. We were in Orlando. My son and I got off the golf course. There's all these football and basketball guys in the parking lot talking about where they're watching the game on Saturday. They just couldn't get enough of it. And it's like, clue in, people.
Yeah. Hockey's you don't need a fight. You need just to know one might happen. Hockey's best when it's played on the edge and with passion. That's what we saw in that tournament.
Or a guy might take a cross-check in the chicklets. You never know. Keep it interesting.
You never know. Exactly. The old Saskatchewan toothpick.
Okay. Appreciate you taking some time today. Have a little rinse and then head in, and we'll be watching tonight.
All right, boys. Say hi to Ray for me, will you?
You are right now.
Ray on for an interview. And say hi to Hope, too.
Well, they're listening right now. I'm going to call him later, and he's going to go, why does Ken always think I'm a bull rider?
I have no idea why.
But it is fun. It's fun. Yeah.
Got to get
It is fun.
Got to get
All right,
him,
see you guys.
Wayne Armstrong together, and Ken next time he's in Saskatoon, Bidsy.
Well,
That's
yeah,
your
get
goal.
Wayne along. That'd be deadly.
That's your goal. All right. Later, Ken. Thanks so much.
See you, boys.
See you, pal.
Thank
From
you.
Sportsnet, Ken Reid, longtime friend of Derek Bidwell. Skull Cherry. Ooh, that just made my mouth burn when he said that. We're up against the clock here. Let's take a quick break. We'll come back and recap what's going on locally. It's a SportsCage, streaming at sportscage.com. Canadian Brewhouse, good place to watch both Saskatchewan teams curl this evening. Go in, find a daily specials. If you want to do a team fundraiser as well, both locations in Regina and in Moose Jaw. Saskatchewan teams not on the ice at the Briar right now, but they are one of them leading Pool B, McEwen foursome. They're now 5-0 after a win this morning. Kleider, they're sitting at 2-2. The Riders signed another defensive back today, bringing him into camp, see what he's all about. American defensive back Leon Jones, 6'1", 192. He was a Chicago Bears undrafted free agent last year, went to minicamp, and he was cut right before the final rosters were released. SJHL, the report's coming up with Benny Walchuk in hour 2. Melville tries to continue things at home against Nipawin. Notre Dame plays host to Weyburn. In the WHL, for extreme hockey and sport, Umbrella Marketing, your baseball and team kits now available. Call Extreme Hockey and Sport. The Regina Pats are in PA. 6:30 pregame show, 7 o'clock puck drop. Huge 2 points for the Raiders. They're 2 up on Brandon, and Brandon is in action in Red Deer. Kelowna is in Medicine Hat, and Seattle welcomes Kamloops. Junior B Loop tonight. Couple of big ones. Series tied 1-1. Pilot Butte and the Regina Extreme Hockey Capitals, 7:45 at the Ritchie. Fort Knox tries to close things out on Assiniboia, 7:30 in the Fort. And then one senior game of note, Raymore versus Milestone. Rockets up 2-0 in that one at the launch pad. Bidsy. Let's get back to curling here.
Sure.
For a second. Both Saskatchewan teams in the same pool. I think it's tomorrow they play each other. Tomorrow's a day. So anyone probably in and around the Kelowna area from Saskatchewan will be at that one. Although the Ryland Kleider foursome sitting at 2-2, going to need a lot of help to progress. Brad Gushue's ranks undefeated. Talk about the GOAT. We talked about Rachel Holman at the Scotties. How she's unbelievable. She hasn't lost in 22 games. Brad Gushue, again, right there. You got to get your parents gambling on the Briar. That's a ride.
Yeah. Well, they like their games of chance. They just do the slot machines though. But they like to sprinkle or whatever you call it. They like to take a chance. They like to put some money on things, but it's usually pressing buttons. But yeah, that would make it more interesting. It makes everything more interesting, really, to be honest.
Some people say more fun. Some people say more interesting. The Edmonton Oilers, little trade action. They get Trent Frederick to probably go in their bottom 6 somewhere. Busy night in the NHL. 10 games. The Calgary Flames, who are hanging on to that last wild card spot. It's going to be an absolute dogfight. They are in Philadelphia. We talked to Eric Francis yesterday. Winnipeg is on the island, taking on the Islanders. Anaheim's in Edmonton. Vancouver not in action tonight. Anaheim, they've creeped back into the conversation when it comes to the playoffs. The rest of it, if it started today was the last regular season games. Who do you think's getting in out of those teams, Bidsy? Who does your gut tell you out of Calgary, Vancouver, St. Louis, Utah? Heck, we'll even throw Anaheim in there. Who's getting in?
Yeesh. You know what? My heart would go Calgary, of course, because I got a couple buddies that are coaches on that team with that organization, and they're doing a heck of a job this year. One of them's a goaltender coach. Shout out to Jason LaBarbera. But I don't know. I just feel like St. Louis is kind of at a spot where they can't. Everybody's talking about Jordan Binnington again going on to play with some of the team, and it's going to be part of a big deal at trade deadline. But I just think St. Louis has a real shot at being there. So I think they're kind of handcuffed. It's almost one of those things where you'd rather they either, went in the tank or went on a run, because their GM is kind of in limbo right now.
Yeah, I'm just trying to look at schedules and what's coming up in the next few days, and it's so difficult. There's still a lot of hockey games left, or quite a few anyway, and I don't know. Like, I guess, that probably the favorite pick is just because they've been so good and they have some names, would be St. Louis. Vancouver underachieved, safe to say, this year. Mm-hmm. You know what? I'm not a Flames fan by any means, but just where they are with what they have.
Yep.
Totally appreciate that. So that'll be a big 2 points for them tonight. We got to go to break. We're up against news. We come back. Arash Madani. We're going to tackle an NFL receiver that was cut loose today by his team, a big name receiver. It is the Sports Cage. We stream at sportscage.com and on X, and we are on the home of sports in Saskatchewan, 620 CKRM. It's hour 2. Barney, Shynkaruk, Derek Bidwell, and the C's are with you on this Tuesday, like you said, for Saskatchewan Lotteries. Good first hour there. Good little chat with Ken Reid from Sportsnet. We got Arash Madani standing by from Sportsnet as well. We'll get more on the football side of that. If you're just tuning in and you're looking for a curling update for what's going on at the Briar, both the Sasky teams have the afternoon off in Kelowna. They pick it back up this evening. It will be Saskatchewan, the Clyder foursome taking on Ontario, and the McEwen rink will take on the Territories. This morning, Clyder lost 6-3 to Jacobs from Alberta, and McEwen slipped by the Yukon 7-5. Think the Yukon or the Territories will ever win the Briar? Has anyone ever asked that question? I've been wondering it since I was like 5 years old and my parents are watching.
Let's just worry about us winning the Briar again, and then after that, then we can talk about them breaking this streak. How popular is that person going to be, that team? Because it's a team, not just a skip. That curling team, popular are they going to be in Saskatchewan when they end the streak since Rick Folk and become the next team to win at the Briar? I just think they're going to be just beloved, especially in all the small towns.
Oh, you get a street named after you in some small town.
Yeah. Well, for sure.
The curling rink even.
Yep.
Got close last year. So back on the ice tonight. Let's go out on the Western Pizza Guest Hotline. Talk to our guy.
It's time to go coast to coast with Arash Madani for Smart Investing Solutions. Be smart with your money. Call Brian Gawley at Smart Investing Solutions, 546-2533.
Yeah, call Brian Gawley because the markets are all over the map right now. It's one of those days that I want to be 12 years old again and go, doesn't pertain to me, although I'm getting old and it does. Arash, what's shaking? When did we
get old? Hold on. When did we get old? Like, when did that happen where, like, suddenly we're paying attention to grown-up stuff?
Yeah. When you get that first mortgage, that's when life really hits you directly in the mush. Yeah, these two guys on the other side aren't even here yet.
Yeah, I think for me it was when I got a physical once, and the doctor's like, okay, we got to talk. Like, you're not 19 years old anymore, you know?
Yeah, yearly. Got to go for your yearly. All you guys out there and girls. Yearly physical for sure. Yeah, that's a good time too. That's when it really hits you. Cue some sad music, boys, please.
Yeah.
Hey, I've been teasing this. Let's start here.
Sure.
Are you surprised that the Jets have released Aaron's boy, Davante Adams?
No, because he had no guaranteed money left on the books, so they're able to kind of do a wipe our hands free, clean break, no dead cap money, et cetera, et cetera. And I think if you watch Receiver on Netflix, if you follow Davante Adams' career, if he's unhappy in a situation, everyone's going to know he's unhappy, and it's not going to be a tenable solution or situation. Like, it's the Jet situation is interesting, guys, because here you bring in Aaron Glenn, who is the alpha male of alpha males, who played there, who knows New York, who understands it all, and he's not going to live with any of the BS that Aaron and Davante and the rest of them have brought to the mix. So it's going to be done his way, kind of like what his old boss, Dan Campbell, did. And I think there's going to be a lot of that you're going to see in New York coming up this offseason, next season, and the rest of the way.
Who's the, I was going to ask you, Arash, who's the NHL version of Davante Adams in the NFL, Jimmy Butler in the NBA, whereas you said, I'm unhappy, everyone's going to know about it, and I'm going to totally derail this thing until I get my way, AKA a lot of times I get shipped out of town. Is there an NHL guy that comes to mind? Because obviously Jimmy just went through that with Miami to the Golden State Warriors, and now we're talking Davante.
Yeah.
And what about NHL?
I don't know. That's a great question, and I'm just trying to think, going through the mental Rolodex as we're kind of going around there. I think a lot of times that stays quiet. But
I know, honestly, that's a really good question. I'm trying to think too.
Yeah, I'm trying to think who rocked the boat where they just tried to derail. The whole team was kind of held hostage until they had to essentially move him. I'm trying to think who that
Patrick
was.
Waugh? Canadians to the Avs, but
I guess maybe Dustin Byfuglien, until Byfuglien one day just decided, you know what? I'm just done with hockey.
I'm out.
I'm out. I'm just not showing up anymore. You guys do whatever it is you want.
That could be one of the sorry, Arash, but we talk about Barry Sanders a bit, and then was Calvin Johnson, how they kind of or Andrew Luck, how they kind of just walk away from the game at a weird time where we're kind of all like, if you're a fan of those teams, you're like, what? What's going on? Byfuglien is the NHL equivalent to those guys.
Yeah. I guess recently, though, and I guess we just don't know enough, but what the hell happened in Vancouver with JT Miller?
Yeah.
Was that one? I don't know. Maybe was that a personality conflict? Was that just a ... question mark? I'm not sure exactly what happened there.
That sure sent them for a loop, and obviously they're still trying to get back on track, whether they do or not this year, and get into the postseason. But yeah, I just thought that was interesting because you mentioned about Davante and Jimmy, of course, you hear about it in the NBA, and it's maybe it just doesn't happen as much in the NHL for whatever reason. I don't know.
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah.
Is it?
It's a good question. I don't know.
Is it the late 80s or 90s? Man, wouldn't that be great if it was? And running backs are getting paid again in the NFL?
Seems like it, doesn't it? Did you see the Saquon money today?
Oh, come on.
So 2 years, 41.2 makes him the highest paid running back in NFL history. 2 years after every GM and owner wanted you to believe that running backs were a dime a dozen, you could plug and play anybody, here comes number 26 of the Philadelphia Eagles, as Jalen Hurts, was mic'd up and basically told Saquon, you are our missing piece. Now Saquon has set the record, and there's so many more incentives and escalators. There's an extra 15 he could make. Of the 42, 36 is guaranteed. He's going to get the money. They are fully invested on Saquon Barkley being the heartbeat of their offense. How about that, fellas?
And you know what's interesting with this, Arash, too, is that we'll wait and see. I totally believe that Saquon, with his work ethic and just the physical specimen he is, if he can stay healthy, that he will absolutely earn every bit of this. And maybe it's almost a bit of a bargain if he can stay healthy. But this was the money that the Dallas Cowboys, of course, threw at Ezekiel Elliott. And then Elliott went completely in the tank. And that had everybody thinking, whoa, running backs only last 3 or 4 years and then they go in the tank. And it seemed like the Ezekiel Elliott contract was one that started this nonsense, if you will. And it seems that we're back on track. And I think Saquon will get this back on track for running backs.
Well, here's the thing. If you're going to look at the Dallas Cowboys as the model of what to do, that's your first catastrophic mistake. That like not only is a fireable offense, it might be like firing squad offense. Like, what's the last smart, intelligent move that Jerry and Stephen Jones have made running that franchise?
Building the stadium.
The stadium. Yep. Yeah, the scoreboard.
Buying the team for $200 million. And now it's worth $10 billion. But from a football ops standpoint, Jerry wanted to draft Johnny Manziel in the first round. Like, I wonder what Jerry must have thought, if he even knew what was going on, to see Johnny running around Hamilton and Montreal not that long after. Thankfully, Jason Garrett and the scouts talked him into drafting Zach Martin instead, an offensive lineman. Martin just retired. He's 5 years away from the Hall of Fame. So if you're using Jerry Jones and the Cowboys as the model, you may want to rethink some things.
I wonder what would happen if Johnny Manziel went to the that would have been a debacle. It was already a debacle in Cleveland, but man, if he was in Dallas, that would have been off the chain nuts. Oh, yes.
I heard in Dallas, it's just GMs and all that typically make bad decisions. Basketball, football, doesn't really matter.
Very well. Sitting on that one for a while. Nico and Jerry, what a duo.
What's going to happen? First off, back to the Saquon thing and just the Super Bowl and everything. Like, if you're in the New York Jets front office, what if you're that guy with the Jets that said, no, you have to sign him, and you were just kind of put off to the side?
Oh, the Giants, you mean?
The Giants, I mean. Yeah. Like, do you go? Told you so. But what are they going to do for a quarterback there? What are the Saints going to do for a quarterback? What are the Raiders going to do for a quarterback? At what team do we start hearing Colin Kaepernick is coming back to throw for somebody?
Well, here's the interesting part. If you listen to what, like, I watched, because I'm a loser, I watched a lot of the Combine over the weekend. Okay? The underwear Olympics. I'm old, right. I could have gone for a walk, but instead I watched the Combine. So there it is.
Oh, good.
I'm not dead. I'm just old.
He's still with us.
So the belief is there's only like a max of 3 quarterbacks going in the first round. You know, Cam Ward, Shedeur Sanders are probably going to be top 5 picks, and then, maybe Jackson Dart, somebody else. What does that mean? It means that there are going to be quarterbacks who are done, toast, finished, useless. Derek Carr, Aaron Rodgers, Tyrod Taylor, Daniel Jones, who are going to get jobs and maybe even starting jobs next year. Like, what are the Colts going to do? Anthony Richardson, they drafted in the first round a couple of years ago. It looks like he's done. So what do you do? It means that, like, is Aaron Rodgers just basically going to go from one side of the Meadowlands to the other? Is he just going to go from the Jets to the Giants? Is that really what's going to happen over there in New York? Because everybody with the Giants is now coaching, managing for their jobs. Can you really rely on a rookie to get it done for you? I'm not so sure, fellas.
What are the Vikings? It sounds like they're not going to franchise Sam Darnold.
They're not. They're not.
Oof.
So, like, to Sam Darnold, I think Sam Darnold has now become the most attractive free agent quarterback of this offseason. Like, if you're the Las Vegas Raiders, would it make sense to offer Sam 4 times 30 with 65 of it guaranteed? You know, $120 million. Tom Brady's there. What does Tom Brady think of him?
I need
that to me actually, I don't want to say makes sense, but it actually could end up happening, if that makes any sense.
With Tom Brady kind of being there in Las Vegas, and it sounds like, obviously having an opinion and weighing in on this. Do you know, like, are you familiar? I was trying to think about this. Do he and Aaron Rodgers get along? Like, are they pals? I know quarterbacks talk. They seek each other out after every game. They talk to them, like D linemen don't go up to other D linemen all the time. Quarterbacks always go up to each other after every game. Some have a long conversation where they kind of cover their mouths. They want to say something just in their ears so the TV microphones don't pick it up. Some seem very close. Others don't. Do you know, are Rodgers and Brady tight?
Yeah, like they've worked on a number of things away from football together as well. There was this made-for-TV golf event with Rodgers and Brady and Patrick Mahomes and I think Travis Kelce or something like that. Rodgers went to Cal. Brady's a California guy. They're effectively of the same era. The question is, does Tom think Aaron has anything left in the tank? And that ultimately is the question. The other question is, what happens when, the music stops and there's one chair left, and where is there? Like, Derek Carr's not going back to the Raiders. And if Darnold doesn't end up there with the Raiders, who's left to end up being Las Vegas' starting quarterback?
Brock Purdy.
And if that happens, is Sam Darnold the starting quarterback in San Francisco, where he was the backup a couple of years ago, knows Kyle Shanahan's system, and it won't cost them $50 million a year to have Sam Darnold. It would cost them $30 million, and they can build around him. I don't view that out of the realm of possibility, Barney. I really don't.
If Tom Brady's smart, you know who they put in as a backup to whoever they get? Because I think he's still got 1 year left, serviceable, maybe win you 2, 3, 4 games. The game's past him. Close.
Joe Flacco.
Yes. Give it to Flacco. Man, I used to hate that guy. Now I just respect him because every year someone's like, there's old man Flacco. And he's still he's smart.
Then he goes on a run.
He's smart, serviceable, like I said. But back to the draft, Arash, and I am not like hardcore. I didn't watch the combine like some people I know.
Like some losers, Yeah.
I know. I don't think those top 3 quarterbacks that you mentioned are going to amount to anything in the NFL. I don't know why. I just move on. Pick something else in this draft and try. Mind you, there's not a lot of quarterbacks out there to kind of build around. Who's a good backup? Who's a good backup out there that we're overlooking right now that could do like the Sam Darnold thing this year?
I mean, the interesting one is Daniel Jones. The Giants draft him top 10. They gave him a pile of money. Is there anything there? You know what's so fascinating about football, guys, is you're so tied. No matter what happens in your career, you're so tied to where you were drafted. Everyone's like, well, he was a first-round pick for a reason. He was a second-round pick for a reason. It's like, man, that was 13 years ago. When he was 22 years old. Are we really using that as the barometer to evaluate a 35-year-old player who's been through it? But the interesting part about Flacco is he continues to kind of put up results wherever he goes. I'll give you 2 names that I think are garbage but might get jobs. One is Jimmy Garoppolo.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right? Back up to Matthew Stafford right now at the Rams. He's been everywhere. And the other, like, I'm going to duck when I say this because, like, one of his throws may whiz over my head. He's so inaccurate. Again, tied to where he was drafted. Is famous Jameis Winston. Like, you saw flickers and flashes with the Browns last year. And then the other name we haven't brought up yet, fellas.
That guy's bipolar.
Kirk Cousins.
Russell Wilson.
Yeah.
What becomes of Russell Wilson this offseason? Because he's a free agent, you know, his year with the Steelers is up. What happens there?
I know you're not a Cousins fan, and I know that he's let you down many times in the past, Arash, but obviously
He's garbage.
Atlanta has decided they're going with Penix Jr. And but are they just, is he have to stay there? Like, will they have to eat half that contract? Maybe somebody takes him for half his amount.
But here's the thing, Bidsy, about Cousins. It's not that, like, that's not it. He has $100 million guaranteed of that deal. And it's effectively in the first 2 years. So they're already in for $90 million. 90 already. So do you keep him around for 10 to have a veteran in the quarterback room as long as Cousins is fine doing that and being that? Or do you just cut him loose and eat the $10 million? That becomes the question in Atlanta. I guess it comes down to, is Cousins comfortable being the backup to a second-year guy and not having to move? Because I can't imagine there's much of a market for him anywhere.
Okay, let's move on to basketball. Colson, this is your lane.
Yeah, I'm the closest thing we have to a basketball person around here. So,
hey, I'll play any day of the week, though. I'll play.
Right.
Following it, me.
All right. So, LeBron James entering some very unique territory once again. What are your thoughts on LeBron's run here?
So LeBron tonight, guys, is going to surpass the 50,000 point milestone.
Jesus.
50,000. Mm-hmm. And like, when I tell you nobody's come close. Like, Kobe and MJ didn't even get to 40. Wilt Chamberlain, who scored 100 in a game, was around 35,000. Like, think about that. Michael Jordan didn't get 40. Kobe didn't get 40. LeBron's going to get 50,000 tonight. And it's amazing, like, when we talk about Kobe and when we talk about Jordan and we talk about, I don't know, Tim Duncan, we talk about them with this, like, reverence. And yet when LeBron's name comes up, he's still such, like, a polarizing figure. And I still haven't figured out why. Like, all these years later, why is LeBron such a lightning rod? I don't get it.
Yeah, because you ask any fan in the NHL, they have no problem admitting that Wayne Gretzky is the great one, even if his goal record falls in a month or so, whenever Ovechkin can hit it. But everyone else is like, well, he still has the assists and total points, and no one's ever going to catch that. And LeBron has not shown any signs of slowing down. In that graphic we just had up, he was the player of the month this month for half of the league at 40.
Right, 40 years old.
Like, yeah, Jordan played till he was 42. He wasn't a player of the month.
Right.
Or the league.
Right. For the league. It's amazing. And, like, sometimes I kind of find this with Patrick Mahomes right now too.
Oh, sometimes we had to bring up Patrick Mahomes. We're trying to get through the winter.
Well, who's the comp? Like, who comes even close in professional sports today of winning multiple championships and being on top of their sport and is vilified? Sometimes we just don't appreciate the greatness that's happening until it's gone, I guess. I don't know.
With LeBron, though, it goes back to, I'm taking my talents and creating, championship teams. I think that rubs people the wrong way. Maybe it's because that he calls himself King James, or maybe it's just people are just huge diehard Jordan fans, and LeBron quite often says that he's the greatest basketball player of all time. A lot of times other people do as well, but LeBron says it a lot himself. Maybe that's it, Arash, if there was just coming up with reasons. But
yeah, it's so interesting though, Bidsy. Like the first thing you bring up is that 15 years ago, in one interview, wearing a checkered shirt, LeBron says, "I'm taking my talents to South Beach." Like, this guy has been a professional basketball player for more than 20 years. He came out of high school and all he's done is perform. And we now live in an internet, cell phone, camera phone, social media gotcha world. And this guy's nose has been so clean for 20 years. What's the biggest controversy over LeBron?
The decision.
Yeah, the fact that I'm taking my talents to South Beach. LeBron wasn't the first to set up a super team. Charles Barkley left Phoenix to join the Houston Rockets. Clyde Drexler was there. Hakeem Olajuwon was there. Robert Horry was there. Mario Elie was there. They just didn't win. You know, Tom Brady went to Tampa Bay. He brought Gronk along with him. Started recruiting Ndamukong Suh and the rest. I just find it amazing that at a time, like we talk about Johnny Manziel, like Johnny couldn't go 3 weeks without, a catastrophe happening. And because LeBron in a checkered shirt said, "I'm taking my talents to South Beach," people just can't let that go. We're okay with Air Jordan. We're just not okay with King James.
I don't remember his attire for that.
I didn't remember a checkered shirt either. I do remember he said there ain't no party like a Diddy party, and that kind of got him in trouble as well too. But
did he really say that?
Yeah.
Oof.
Yeah.
Fired.
I'd love to imagine
See
camera
tape?
phones existed
Oh.
when Michael Jordan was in Atlantic City until 5, 6 in the morning, drinking cognac, smoking cigars, and gambling at a casino, and then showing up to a day game the next day at Madison Square Garden. Like, what would happen?
Or back in the day, even when players were traveling by train. I mean, can you imagine if there were cameras around? Everything just became a story, was folklore, because it never really was captured, right? So, but nowadays, everything is captured. So, yes, you're right. Yeah. Oh, he is in a purple and white plaid shirt.
Checkered shirt. There it is.
He looks young.
How young he is there, huh?
That's pre going to the doctor for physicals. What else did we go to getting a mortgage? You didn't have to worry about that.
I don't know if that was Curtis or Colson who pulled that up in a pinch, but well done, guys.
Colson directing Curtis.
There we go.
Kurt, you say the decision to Curtis. He's like, huh?
Yeah, I get easily confused. I'm not sure where I'm going and whatnot.
So Colson's the offensive coordinator and Curtis is the quarterback? Is that what we got?
I also play a bit of middle linebacker, but I don't have the build for it.
That's it.
Curtis makes sure the iPads are good to watch the replays.
We're charged up? Right.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm like running back. You just give me the ball. I just try to run straight and keep going. I don't know.
So what happens when Barney comes over all pissed off and smashes all the tablets? Then what happens?
Things aren't that important that I got to smash anything around here.
I get sad.
Amen.
I got an emotional running back.
I got a 13-year-old and an 11-year-old. I'm kind of trying to keep alive. Those are the biggest problems in my life.
Amen.
All right, buddy. Talk to you Thursday.
See you, boys. You got it.
Right.
Thanks, Arash.
Arash Madani. And good talk. A lot of NFL talk there. It's good. We haven't talked NFL in a while. It's for Smart Investing Solutions. Brian Golly, be smart with your money. Probably never been a better time in the last little bit to call Brian Golly if you got some money questions than today after things go down. Brian Golly, Smart Investing Solutions, 546-2533. SJHL Report coming up with Benny Walchuk. We'll have it next. We're streaming on X and at sportscage.com. Yes, Southern Mainline Chrysler right now. We're into March. Over $260,000 in total discounts across the remaining 2024 vehicles. $2,000 off to $16,000 off. If you're looking for a good 2024 in-service date, hasn't happened yet. Southie Mainline Chrysler, worth the drive every time, guaranteed. Southie, Saskatchewan. Benny Walchuk, wearing a sport coat, looking sharp because he's got a hockey game to call this evening between the Nipawin Hawks and the Melville Millionaires. Do the Melville Millionaires continue it tonight, Benny? What are we at? Are we at 10 or 11?
We're at 11 right now.
Whoo! 12.
Battle. It's adversity tonight, though. They got a few injuries, a couple sicknesses. Jaden Iogan, their 2 top scorers are out due to injury and sickness. It was a banged up game. It was a great hockey game on Saturday here against the Humboldt Broncos. Playoff type feel, but battling through a little adversity. Have a couple APs in the lineup, but Doug Johnson said on his pregame chats, they're just finding ways to win hockey games, and there's probably another night here to battle through some adversity against a very good Nipawin team that's playing some very good hockey.
Who are the APs? Let's give a shout out. Do you know the names?
Carter Wingert. He's their first-round pick last year. He plays with PHA, Prairie Hockey Academy, there in Caronport. So it's a good young-and-comer, big kid, 6'3", 380 pounds. Local product out of the area, Regina area. So it's going to be good for him to get in his first SJHL debut tonight.
What's the buzz around town, Benny? When a team goes on a heater like that, attendance usually goes up. It's the water cooler talk. People bring out more clothing and they just fly the what?
What? Whoa! What are we? People in Melville bring out more clothing.
Like I meant, like merchandise, the jerseys, T-shirts. And I meant like that.
The nudist colony starts to come to games.
Just more clothing in general. I don't know. I mean, more merchandise, and everybody's wearing the jerseys or the T-shirts or the hats, or just talk about what's the hum around town.
It's humming pretty good. Yeah. No, actually, like I seen on Saturday, there's rally towels. They've had rally towels last year, and they had fans bringing them out there. A lot of young kids are buying more merchandise. More parents are making the trip from around Saskatchewan that have kids in the team. So there is a buzz around the organization. 50-50 is almost $4,000 for a regular season game, which is pretty good to take home to the winner. I think there's over 1,100 people at the game on Saturday. So the buzz is around the community, and the biggest thing is the weather's getting warmer. The snow's starting to melt, and it's feeling like playoff weather, so that's the best time of year.
People are shedding clothing. Shedding of the clothing. Okay, let's go to the standings here. If you're watching the stream, we're going to pull up the standings, Benny. So what are we looking at here? When did Humboldt clinch anytime soon here? They got to have an X beside their name soon.
Yeah, I think it's a couple points away. So they're about a win or overtime loss away from the biggest battle right now is between Kindersley and LaRange. Kindersley is coming in 1 point up on LaRange. They both have 4 games remaining. They both had a big matchup this past weekend where LaRange took 3 out of 4 points. So LaRange has got a little bit of a tougher schedule. They got 2 Flin Flon, 2 Melfort coming in. But Melfort's clinched top seed. Flin Flon's clinched top seed right now, and they can't really move. So who knows if they're going to be resting guys, if they're going to try to win these games out. So that's kind of up in the air right now. Then Kindersley has Notre Dame, Humboldt, and then 2 against Battleford, who's still battling as well. So strength of schedule probably in favor of the Kindersley, but right now LaRange Ice Bulls are playing much better hockey. They're playing that Kevin Kaminsky's type hockey like Bidsy knows so well. They're playing good at the right time, and there's excitement right now in LaRange. It's their kind of their last few games there, which they don't hopefully in the regular season at the Mel Hagelin Uniplex before they move over to the JRMCC there on the Aron. So it's maybe the last hurrah here for the people in LaRange and the Mel Hagelin Uniplex. And they don't want their season to end, and they don't have their final game here in the next week or so.
If the playoffs started, how many regular season games did each team play in the SJ?
56.
56. So playoffs started today. Would we still see that Yorkton Melville or no?
We would right now, if the playoffs had ended today, we'd see Yorkton Melville. Yep. Yorkton's at 63 points, Melville's at 61, and then Weyburn's at 64 and third right now. So it'd be that highway team battle, which would be great for both communities financially, and for me, if I don't have to travel as much, and I get an automatic berth into round number 2, which is nice too. So.
Yes.
Benny, I was going to ask you, you just touched on it. I haven't had a chance to talk to you in a while. So, but I do know that Killer said, of course, there's announced that the Ice Wolves are going to get a new home next year, which is good because that old rink has a lot of history. But man, that roof is low. Shink, have you ever been to the rink there?
No, I've seen pictures. I know exactly what you're talking about. It's like they're playing in the basement of a church hall.
Yeah. Well, for those that know from Saskatoon, it's like they're playing at Lions Arena in Saskatoon. You can't even dump the puck down the ice without it hitting the roof. So maybe I was just going to ask you, Benny, about this new home for L'Orange. And I know there's some expansion there. There's some renovations that they're doing for the Ice Wolves. Maybe just a bit more on that.
Yeah, exactly. It's like you said, they've had history there. They've built teams around the rink to play in the rink. Like you get in trouble in the rink, you don't have to dump it. You just dump it off the roof to get out of trouble right now. And right now it's not a penalty. So it's a very interesting aspect, but it has history. They've had 2 league championships in that rink. And a lot of people that are from that town of L'Orange there, they've been in the organization for a long time, and it's a change. Like it's just moving across the road, or it's just a different venue. But that rink is going to have some renovation. They're getting a new center ice score clock, I believe. They're getting a dressing room expansion, and it's going to be a much more maybe more comfortable place to watch hockey games there at the place there at the JRMCC. So that's good, and it's just a great move for all around. Just like Notre Dame, great history there, but moving to L'Orange is just best for the organization, also best for the SJHL too.
How far away? So now people that is it in town or is it out of town?
It's about 5 kilometers away. Yeah, well, give or take about 5K, so not too far.
No, because you know some of the elder statesmen is like, I gotta drive, Got to go across town now. Okay, let's go this first. What's our worth the drive games of the week for Southie Mainline Chrysler? What are we looking at here?
I'm going to go home and home this weekend, Weyburn and Melville. They played last week on Friday, good game in Weyburn, but Friday in Melville, or in Weyburn, Saturday afternoon in Melville at 3:00 start before the Millionaires have their comedy nights here on Saturday night. So I'm going to go with that home and home with Melville and Weyburn, which Millionaires can get 2 wins here. Win tonight, they could vault over both Yorkton and Weyburn for third place right now. So it's a big crucial battle. And for the Weyburn Red Wings, they've got a little bit of a skid right now. This kind of proves if they're going to be for real, if they can clinch that 3rd seed and home ice in round number 1.
Tell us more about this comedy night in Melville.
You just dropped that in there. I was like, what? Comedy?
Millionaires Comedy Night. That's a big fundraiser for the hockey club on Saturday. They got Joel Jeffrey and Jody Peters coming in on Saturday as well. Matt Mary hosting it. So it's a great little fundraiser. They play 3:00 on Saturday. Then with the convention center here, the Cornerstone Convention Center, fans can just walk down the steps and go right into the convention center here at the rink. So that's great. So beef on a bun for $10 and a great night of laughs and some good fundraising for the hockey club as well. And also Millionaires get to be servers too. So they kind of get auctioned off to be servers. Those that are of age to serve, they get to be kind of their waiters for the night for everybody at the table.
Beef on a bun. There's probably a jar of pickled eggs at the bar. Are you going to this thing, Benny?
I hope to get to. And actually, speaking of pregame meal, I had Keshka for pregame meal tonight. So I'm ready to go for tonight.
Wow.
I was going to say, comedy night, though. Comedy night. Say hi to Jody Peters from Bidsy. I played flag football with him a couple of years ago until we both pulled our groins, and I think we handed in our flag football jerseys, and that was it.
And then
I will definitely.
I hope the executive puts up no shirt, no shoes, no service for the comedy night in Melville, because clothing is a issue. Okay, and then we got to end it with some senior hockey talk, man. I was in Wynyard the other night. Scary situation with former Regina Pats Connor Hobbs. Lucky to hear he's okay. It sounds like hockey's done for him now. Wynyard looked good. Round Lake pushed a bit. That facility, as you told me, great barn. Wi-Fi suspect at best. Great barn nonetheless. Hospitable people in Wynyard. But Round Lake finishes them. So now we got Round Lake Lumsden, a rematch of last year's, Benny. You might have to take in one of those.
I might have to. Brown Lake is very good. Like, they have great, and Brady Keeper is a game changer. I've seen Brady play in the MJHL with OCN or the Blizzard. He single-handedly took them to the league championship or league final that year. He played in the NHL. He's got great talent as Brady, and he's just a game changer on the back end, getting some good goaltending. But Lumsden, we've seen him play. They've picked up a few guys. I know guys from their league team. Regan Seiferling, I had a chance to call Regan when he played with Yorkton. He's a Division I player. He doesn't play with them all year. He's added to their roster. So they've added some guys into their roster. So I think it's going to be an entertaining series. I think it's going to be kind of same as last year, but I think Lumsden is just a little bit more physical. But this Round Lake team is very, very good and better than last year. So we'll see what happens. It'll come down to goaltending. I know we talked about Dan Bakla, Matt Cron for Round Lake, and Brandon Holpe and Austin McCauley and them for the Lumsden Monarchs. The goaltending is going to be big there. And I know we talk about it. Foam Lake doesn't get talked about as much, but Foam Lake has a chance to be a double banner winner here, and they have a chance to advance to the provincial final with the win over Assiniboia this weekend. And then it sets up a showdown with possibly Wilkie in the provincial final. So those guys in Foam Lake, they're very, very active on Twitter, and they don't think they have a lot of respect, but they are a very good hockey club. I wouldn't be surprised if they were in A right now that they'd be battling with the Lumsdens, and they're just that good.
Chikai. Foam Lake, guys. The Nooner gave you guys lots of love. You guys are riding number one team in the province for a long time there. So nothing but love for the guys in Foam Lake. Foam Lake Wilkie. That'd be a great 3-game series. All right, Benny. Not everybody looks as good as you there in Melville tonight. Sharp dress. Not everyone has their picture on doors at hockey rinks either. So
I know.
Have a good call, buddy. We'll catch up.
Sounds good, guys. Take care.
See you, Benny.
It's our SJHL report for Southie Mainline Chrysler. New king of trucks in Southie, Saskatchewan. Worth the drive every time, guaranteed. Right now, their 2024s, $2,000 off to $16,000 off. They're just $260,000 in savings. So if you're looking for a 2024 vehicle, that's your place to go. Worth the drive every time, guaranteed.
What's with Benny? So Benny has a picture. There's a picture of Benny up somewhere on some. What did you say, on some doors? What? I didn't catch all that.
Yeah, Curtis is probably pulling it up here. It was on a door in I think it's the Yorkton hockey rink. Just a promotion for the radio station. Does a great job. You ever met Benny? He's taller than he looks.
Is that right?
Yeah.
No, I have not met Benny in person. No.
There it is. Right there.
There it is.
That's the president of the SJHL, Kyle McIntyre, in a nice sport coat. And then
coat.
Benny Walchuk in behind him there. Yeah. No, Benny. Yeah, I'd say Benny would be 6 feet, 6'1".
Oh.
Yeah.
He looks like a slender fella.
Oh, he is slender.
Long legs.
He is slender. Yeah, he doesn't matter. He's not counting carbs. He's not doing the carnivore diet.
Yeah.
It's all good. Okay, what do we got? We're up against break time here. Then we'll come back and recap what's going on and Clutch Performer time. It's the Sports Cage, streaming at sportscage.com.
The Sports Cage Clutch Performer for Nick's Service in Emerald Park. Your local Massey Ferguson Challenger, Rogator, Gleaner, and Fendt dealer. Call 781-1077.
For our Clutch Performer, we're going to the Briar yesterday. Bidsy, you gotta recap this story on our Clutch Performer.
Yeah, so I'm just going to the phone here, and this is from Jorgen Hughes, of course, long snapper for the Riders. He brought this to my attention. Yeah, so yesterday, Josh Mattern, third for Team Clyder, had his dad, John Mattern, enter the game as their fifth. John has been the team manager for the past 10 to 12 years, and the boys asked him to be the fifth right before the Briar. Then they brought him on in a game that they were leading by about 6, I believe, and he came on and he was able to have the dream come true of being able to play in the Briar with his son, Josh, representing Team Saskatchewan. For those that are watching us on the stream, there he is. So that is John Mattern playing with his son, Josh. Great.
Yeah, that was something else, man. We talked about it in hour one, like just putting it into perspective, right?
Yeah, super.
Either if you're the dad or the son. Mm-hmm. Like, it's really cool, yeah. And if you're watching the stream, we had that up there. Good one, Bidsy. Both Saskatchewan teams not on the ice this afternoon at the Briar. They're back on the ice This evening is clutch performer for Nick Service in Emerald Park, your local Massey Ferguson, Challenger, Rogator, Gleaner, and Fent dealer. Call 781-1077. They're back on the ice tonight. McEwen rink. They're undefeated. They're 5-0. Kleider, they got to get running here. They got to go on a massive run as they are sitting at 2-2. Local hockey tonight in the area. We had the SJ Report. We got that. Nipawins in Melville, Weyburn's in Notre Dame. Western Hockey League Report for extreme hockey and sport here in Regina. The Pats are in Prince Albert. Games right here on 620 CKRM, 6:30 pregame show, 7 puck drop. Huge 2 points for the Raiders. They're 2 up on Brandon right now. Brandon plays in Red Deer this evening. Kelowna's in Medicine Hat, and Kamloops travels into Seattle. AAA Midget, no games tonight. The Blazers 4-0 win over Tisdale yesterday. Pat Caesar up in PA tomorrow. They could have carpooled with the Pats. The female Rebels, AAA style, they start with Notre Dame in playoffs this weekend, and then the Junior B playoffs this evening. The Prairie Junior Hockey League, the Al Ritchie 745, Pilot Butte, and the Regina Extreme Hockey Capitals are tied 1-1. Game 3 there in Fort Knox. Assiniboia tries to stay alive. That game in the Fort at 7:30. One game to mention senior hockey, thanks to the guys who texted that one in. The Qu'Appelle Valley Highway Hockey League, Game 3, the semifinal. Raymore Milestone. Rockets are up 2-0 there. Also a slew of games in the NHL. The show is for Saskatchewan Lotteries on Tuesday. If you want to go grab yourself one of them fancy pool tickets or something like that, or maybe just sprinkle on a couple of games. Canadian teams in action. Flames in Philly. Every game is huge for the Flames right now. Winnipeg is on the island. And Anaheim in Edmonton. Do a little parlay there of all the Canadian teams. Maybe pick you up a few bucks. I'm just looking at Coolbet right now. What's the Calgary odds here? Plus 125. Let's go Flames. I'm going to ride the Flames tonight. Why not? And maybe put a few curling bets on. Okay, we're 2 hours in, coming back with Glen Suitor from literally the beaches of Normandy, Juno Beach. It's the Sports Cage, streaming at sportscage.com and on X. And as always, on the mighty 620 CKRM. Barney, Shynkaruk, and Derek Bidwell on this Tuesday. 10 games in the NHL tonight. Get yourself a Saskatchewan lottery. Support the over 12,000 sport, culture, and recreation groups in the province. The CNCs on the other side of the board. Glen Suitor standing by in a bit from around Juno Beach. He's in France. The beaches in Normandy. That's going to be an interesting interview. And then Ken Reid from Sportsnet joins us on the back half of this hour. Bidsy, let's run down locally tonight once again. Junior B action. Caps Pilot Butte tied at 1. They're going at it at the Ritchie 7:45 puck drop. Assiniboia trying to extend the series with Fort Knox. Fort Knox is up 2-0 and 7:30 puck drop in that one. Western Hockey League right here on 620 CKRM. Puck drop, 7 o'clock. Pre-game show goes at 6:30. The Regina Pats in Prince Albert to take on the Raiders. If you're following the Western Hockey League, it's a big 2 points for the Raiders because Brandon's in action. They're 2 points up on Brandon. Brandon is in Red Deer. Kelowna's in Medicine Hat. Kamloops in Seattle. Whew. Stuff's going on. We got some senior too, right? We got Raymore Milestone. Rockets are up 2-0, trying to advance to the Qu'Appelle Valley Highway Hockey League final. The Rush lost to Buffalo on the weekend. Big first place battle. Did you go to that game?
I didn't, but I did. I did listen to it on the radio, and I'm a big Rush fan. So yeah, that was. They had the lead for most of the game, but Buffalo came through with the win.
Are they starting? If Buzz starting to get back in up in that neck of the woods for the Rush, especially in a first place game like that?
Yeah, people are excited again with the Rush because, as I said, they had the lead for most of that game, so it proves that they're 1-1A Buffalo as far as the best teams in the league, and plus the Rush didn't have Robert Church in the lineup, so I think they feel and the fans feel that when it gets farther along into the postseason, the Rush have just as good a chance as anybody to win it all. Yeah,
that's a good point. Curling, you talked about your parents watching curling. Ray, He'll be cheering for McEwen tonight. He's 5-0, leads the B side of things. Kleider needs wins. He's 2-2. Ray's got 2 teams to cheer for. Then tomorrow he's going to be torn because they play each other.
Oh, I don't know what they're going to do. Hope will have one jersey on. Hope will have a Kleider jersey on, and then Ray will have a McEwen one on, and they'll be fine. Yeah.
I love it. All right, let's get to it's a little bit of Rush. You are a Rush fan. It is.
There it is.
Rush, followed by Harlequin, coming up here. Anyway, we got Glen Suitor. We just linked in. We see him there. We're going to take a quick break. We come back. We're talking with the traveling Glen Suitor on the Sports Cage, streaming at sportscage.com. Press coverage with Glen Suitor, the traveling Glen Suitor. It's brought to you by Bronco Plumbing and Heating. Professional services guaranteed. They're going to treat you right at 781-2090. Bronco Plumbing and Heating. All right, Glenn. This was the week. This was the interesting, the probably emotional week. You currently are in Normandy, in the Normandy area of France?
Yes. For the last 4 days, been here in Normandy. In fact, it's dark here at this time, of course, because we're about, I think, 8 or 9 hours different. But right behind me, through this window over my shoulder, is Juno Beach, where the Canadians landed on June 6, 1944. So we've been here 4 days. It has been emotional. A few things that jump out is just the emotion of it, visiting the Canadian cemetery, and where over 2,044 soldiers are buried. And in the Canadian cemetery, you can walk up and down and look at the names, look at the ages. And it is quite emotional. I mean, when you see messages from parents that are saying goodbye to their kids, the average age, because their ages are on the tombstones, and the average age is anywhere between 19 and 25. Very few of them over 25 years old. I saw one his name, I believe, was H.A. Harris, and he was a member of the Regina Rifles, and age 20. And there is, if you're watching the stream, his tombstone at the Canadian Cemetery, one of 2 Canadian cemeteries here at Normandy Beach, and not far from Juno. So on the message is a message from his parents. And, when you walk up and down, and we spend hours at this cemetery just reading the messages, reading the names, and seeing the ages. And the ages is what really moves you. I think when you see these kids that were fighting for our freedom and paying the ultimate sacrifice, and you see that they're 20 years old and their mom and dad are leaving them a message, that just, it's heartbreaking, and it gives you immediate perspective. The other thing that jumped out, though, guys, and it's that what can be accomplished when countries unite for the better good. Because, we spent some time going through the U.S. cemetery as well at Omaha Beach. And when you look at the sheer numbers, you can't see the names at Omaha. It's all fenced off, but you can walk right beside it and around it and the cemetery. And when you look at the sheer numbers, we're talking over 9,000 buried in that cemetery at Omaha. And, you just start to think about that sacrifice and the age group, and that these parents are saying goodbye to them and fighting for, our freedom. And when you look at what's going on in the news, I don't want to get political or anything, but it doesn't really matter what party you're on. If it were up to me, I would have every politician come to this place, go to those cemeteries, so that they understand the responsibility they have when they're negotiating trade agreements and things like that, that there's a perspective that can be gained here immediately when you walk down those paths around those, those tombstones of the Canadian and all the Allies cemeteries here. And there's also all the museums that show you all the different types of weapons, and you can walk through in here. This is a tank, if you're watching the stream from the U.S. Army. And if you can actually walk through some of the German strongholds and all the fortifications that they built here in Normandy to defend this coast, that were broken down pretty quickly by the Juno group and the Canadians on Juno Beach. It's a surreal, and it's just emotional. That's Juno Beach, and that is right behind where I'm sitting right now, and that's the beach. And they would have, on June 6th at about 6:30 in the morning, and we went out there at 6:30 just to see what they'd see. They were hitting that beach at low tide, and that is low tide right now in that picture. And, one of the great stops too, guys, and stop me if I'm getting too far into this, but it's been just an amazing 4 days. We stopped at Canada House, and Canada House is on Juno Beach, and it is one of the first houses and sort of areas in Europe that were liberated. And it was the Canadians that hit that beach, fought off, big, huge attack and very dangerous attack from the Germans, and took the house and liberated. That was one of the first areas in Europe that was liberated, the first houses that were liberated. And we went and took a look at it. I took that picture on the left, and right across from there is a little coffee shop. And we walk into this coffee shop, and there's a French girl that couldn't have been more than 25 years old. And we try to order our coffee. My French from grade 8, awful. My buddy that I'm traveling with, really good at Italian, awful at French. We're both trying to kick it around a little bit, but this girl who's probably 23, 24 years old, we're trying to figure out what we're ordering, and then we say we're from Canada, and immediately, like has happened a bunch of times here at Normandy, they first of all immediately thank you. And the thought that the 25-year-old kid, I could see it if it was someone a lot older that was here at that time or shortly after in the next generation behind, but a really young person that is still thanking Canadians for their sacrifice back then for liberating this area and pushed as far as they did. And she just lit up when she heard that we were Canadians, and she was giving us posters, and she said, here's the coffee, keep the coffee cups, just couldn't be happier to see Canadians. I've never been more proud to be Canadian than to be here for 4 days.
Sus, I was going to ask you this. My father is a big World War I and World War II historian, has hundreds of books that he's read and continues to read. He went and did that trip with his brother, my uncle, a number of years ago, probably a little over a decade ago. And he just said from reading everything and having the knowledge and the history and then to actually being there, gave him almost like goosebumps. It just was a completely different thing than reading about it, knowing about it, but then reading about it, knowing about it, and then standing there.
It really is. It's hard to explain. It's hard to put words to it, but it really is. It just sort of, even to see the sheer numbers of headstones in the cemeteries. I mean, the U.S. one, to see well over 9,000. 2,044 in the Canadian cemetery, one of 2 cemeteries here at Normandy. And you just, it's hard to wrap your head around. And then when you see the ages and you start to think, standing on the beach here thinking, these kids were 19, 20, 23 years old. And, they're moving forward, fighting for our freedom. That's why I really think politicians should come here, and before they go into any G7 negotiation or anything, they should go to these grave sites and get a real perspective, because it does move you big time.
Okay, couple of quick ones on this I want to ask. Someone's going to go. How many days do you recommend to do the beaches and where you're at?
Yeah, great question, because we've been here for 4, we go to London tomorrow, and it wasn't enough. I would say at least 7 to 10. And take your time. There's museums that we haven't seen that we drove by. I might even do, if you could, 2 weeks here. Wow. It's beautiful, by the way. It really is beautiful. I mean, some of the scenery and the beaches are beautiful. I mean, there's beach and stuff to do for kids here too, if you're doing that. But I would say 2 weeks for sure to just basically get to the museums that you want to see and all the different places. I mean, we went to Pointe du Hoc. It's about 60 kilometers from Juno Beach to Omaha Beach, and then Utah is even farther. And I strongly recommend that anyone coming here goes to Utah Beach too, because a lot of the memorials and statues, and you will actually see real landing craft that they used when those doors opened up and they had to hit the beach. And you also get a sense of how far they had to get to cover. I mean, I think, Derek, this is what your dad was saying when he went to see it, is you stand out there and think there's probably 1,000 yards that where that boat opened that they had to get to under heavy fire, and just massive cannons and things like that were hitting. I mean, the Germans fortified this Atlantic wall in a big, big way. And so it was, I mean, courage, that's the definition of courage. And it just is, I don't know. It's hard to put words to it, guys. It really is.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you're heading north to London and then into Scotland, which will be fun. I'm sure pints will be had. Are you taking any more football on this trip? Are you doing any football stuff in the UK?
Yeah, I'm trying to. There's like 1,000 teams that are playing here in Europe, so I'm trying to get set up with different PR people in both stops. But the first priority, because of what we've seen here in Normandy, is now to get to London and go and see Winston Churchill's bunker. And we want to have dinner where during the bombings, when Germany was bombing England and London, in the raids, that he had a restaurant. He would go up on the roof of that restaurant and watch where they were bombing, and then he would go and visit those neighborhoods, and encourage those people that they're going to keep fighting back. We want to go through all that, and then when we get to Scotland, try to walk where William Wallace and Robert the Bruce walked when they were trying to liberate their country, and go to the Stirling Bridge and things like that. So it is quite a walk through history, is what it is, through these countries. But London is up next.
And then up to Scotland. Okay, I got to ask you. You've been over there. I don't know how dialed in and on the grid, as the kids say. Or what do you guys call it these days, Curtis? Following social media and stuff like that. Have you seen the pictures of AJ Ouellette's new body and down to 200 pounds from 225?
I have not, but if I know AJ sets his mind to something, he's going to get it done.
Yeah, Curtis is going to throw it up here. So this is before the 9-week challenge at his gymnasium. Him and his buddies kind of went into a competition, Glenn. So 9 weeks later, we have down 25 LBS, and then that's what we look like there. Wow. That's crazy. Yes. You haven't seen these yet. That's an instant reaction. Yeah, no, I don't. We were talking yesterday with Darian, now what's the plan of attack here before May and before June in season? Do you put on 10? Do you play it that way? Like Darian said, now he'll be more shifty and possibly, but I'm like, I don't know. Is that the guy we want? I think we want the big battering ram. So I wonder where the body goes from there.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to have to, unless he's been there before, and I'm sure he has probably when he first started. He knows how to handle it, so that will be one thing. But yeah, it's a different beast because he will be quicker on his feet. Obviously, losing that weight is going to make him quicker on his feet. Flat out running speed may change, may improve, not necessarily because of the weight, but because of more power. It looks like he's put on some muscle there too. So, the question is, though, because he's got less body fat now, he's going to have to keep himself hydrated all the time. He's got to make sure he doesn't get cramps in games. And, you want to make sure that you've got that balance of nutrition and all that. But, nowadays, back in the day, we used to try and figure this out through, guys that we through, guys telling us, other teams telling us, other players that that you worked out with saying, hey, you should be running banks or watching those videos from guys working out. We didn't have trainers and nutritionalists and things like that to train us. So he'll have lots of advice on how to handle his new body.
Yeah, you went to, where was it? The Scoop where? Cayman Islands. That's where you took your Hal Johnson and Joanne McLeod tapes and went there and trained. Stuck to a somewhat strict diet, I'm sure. The other thing, Riders, so we just got news here again this afternoon that the Riders signed another defensive back, Leon Jones. Leon Jones signed with the Bears, undrafted free agent. Went to the main camp as a rookie in 2024. And then yesterday they signed defensive back Mark Webb, who had a cup of coffee with the Los Angeles Chargers. So what do you make about the Riders and Jeremy O'Day going out, and the scouting staff and the coaching staff, and finding these defensive backs? Both are 6'1", around 200 pounds with some NFL experience.
Well, it's always, when you get the NFL experience, you've got a chance. The guy knows how to be a pro. The only question that you have, I think, with guys that have the NFL background is, are they going to be all in and committed? Sometimes it's subconscious. I mean, you're not even think that they're doing it, but they show up. And I saw it many times. I've seen it as, watching and covering the game, where a guy who's even a Pro Bowler down south comes up and they just think by showing up it's enough, and it's not enough. They have to give us their best like they did down there, and if they don't, they will be cut. So it's great, and the size is excellent. That if you got guys that have got good reach and good size that can run and can cover, the other transition they have to make, as you guys know, is the motion, is the unlimited motion. Not necessarily for DB's yard off the ball, but unlimited motion where all 4 or 5 or 6 receivers can be running at the line of scrimmage on the snap of the ball, and they can all be crisscrossing behind the line of scrimmage. That takes a bit to get figured out. So that's what they got to figure out. But the thing that Jeremy O'Day knows is that they're pros. They know how to be pros. They know how to take care of themselves. Isn't going to be a huge jump that way because they've been in the NFL.
We obviously have to wait and see if these prospect suits turn into anything because, obviously, teams sign these guys. They have a great resume. They send out these press releases and they sound like, wow, they were one of the best players in that conference or wherever they were in the States. And then they come up here, and as you mentioned, it just doesn't seem to work out. But it seems that I wouldn't say that there's extra focus on the defense, but let's just say with some of these signings and some of what we visualize in our minds of what the defense can be, it seems to me that I get more and more excited about the Riders' defense as we get closer to another season.
And I'm not surprised. I think it's a good thing, first of all, that Jeremy O'Day and the staff is looking to strengthen their defense. And if you look at the Grey Cup champions, Toronto, keep going back, and Winnipeg through their Grey Cup appearances, which teams in the league have had the best defenses, that usually translates into getting them to the Grey Cup, and most of the time the best defense in that game wins. And that Grey Cup in Vancouver last year was a one-possession game until the Argo defense picked the ball off twice in the fourth quarter. So that game was still up for grabs for both teams going into the fourth quarter, and then the fourth quarter the Argo defense stepped up and made some plays. But that defense is the reason they won back in Regina as well. And Enoch Mwamba made that interception in a key moment. So, I've always said, and I looked at the Super Bowl the same way, guys, is that I would never bet against the best defense on the field in the championships or in the playoffs, in championship games or playoffs. And I think that's probably why Jeremy O'Day and the coaching staff are looking at strengthening that defense. Starts up front. I always have said that a better defensive line trumps a better secondary. If you had to pick one and you wanted to be strong in one area and couldn't be in the other, then I would pick that D line, because it's hard to complete a pass when you're lying on your back. But those are the plays, if you're watching the stream, those are the plays that were made deep into that game. It was a one-possession game going into late into that game, and that Argo defense took over. So, yeah, I think you live and learn, right? You watch the other teams, you got to steal stuff from them and build the best defense you can.
All right. Get ready for some tenants. I remember that being a really good cerveza in Scotland, and enjoy that Churchill and just everything that London offers. Man, that's such a cool city. And then in Edinburgh, the Royal Mile. Yeah. You'll have some fun there. That castle is legit too. So spend a lot of time there. Yeah.
Can't wait, guys.
Bidwell ran a marathon there once, wasn't it?
I did, yes, yeah, and and I didn't
train.
I didn't challenge for the title. I finished.
So you didn't look like AJ Ouellette? Is that what you're saying at that point?
No, I never have. No, I never have. No, not the muscle. That's how I look like him in his before picture, especially there where he's kind of looking down and sticking out his belly. That kind of looks more like me when I ran the marathon. And when I say run the marathon, it was a run-walk of the marathon, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Speed walk guy. I like it. All right, Glenn. Thanks so much. Let's catch up on Thursday. We'll see where you're at. Traveling Glen Suitor show. I love it.
Thanks, gentlemen. Take care.
Press coverage with Glen Suitor. It's brought to you by the Bronco Plumbing and Heating team, where professional service is guaranteed. They're going to treat you right. 781-2090 to reach Bronco Plumbing and Heating. Let's go for a quick break. Break time. It is the Sports Cage, streaming at sportscage.com and on the home of the Saskatchewan Roughriders, 620 CKRM.